Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, and it is time to take a look at the new free-to-play 5-star, naturally, Gobta, who is on the Font of Wisdom team, is a water unit, but is buffing wind. So, if that doesn't rattle your bones, then I don't know what will. But the first thing that I want to point out is that because he is a natural 5-star unit, and not a natural 4-star, his stats are, in line with another 5-star. So the only other free-to-play natural 5-star we've ever gotten is the OG Wind Shuna. And they are both defense growth types, so if we go into the status details, we can see that his base defense at 120 is 3251, right? And if we go down to Shuna, so 3251 for Gobta, and Shuna has 2990, which, if we put him back at 100, they would probably match up to about the same. So he has 5-star stats. This isn't a case of, him being a natural 5-star 120, but him, at 120 being as good as a 100 old free-to-play unit. Thankfully, they didn't do that. Also, his gear caps out at, the normal place of 6-star fully awakened, of which you need some platinum hammers for that. So I haven't done that yet. And I also haven't gotten enough of the ore to awaken his jacket yet. I have his extra flame, but I need 10 more, and I don't feel like buying it. So we're just going to get it naturally from the parallel processing each day. But I don't think that's going to hamper his showcase. His skills are maxed out because we can buy them all from the Beatdown Battle Shop. So he is an AoE water physical, 290%, decreases guard power by 15% for 2 turns, which technically does help in this new beatdown battle. Honestly, it's not enough, but, that's neither here nor there. He is not an EX unit. He does not have an EX ult. His first skill, 55 points, increases all allies' wind attack by 30% for 1 turn, and pierce power by 15% for 1 turn. So, because we are 2 units into the meta, and we have Albus, and she is the one giving Pierce, so this Pierce power makes sense. The wind attack buff, however, doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense. So I have seen a lot of theories, myself included, feeling like because the first units were water, and then Albus was dark, if he's buffing wind attack by 30%, it stands to reason that we're gonna get a wind unit. Because right now, there aren't a lot of wind characters that we want to bring in this beatdown battle. He's weak to physical attacks, and Wind 2.0 was magic. Diablo is a magic damage dealer. He could benefit from the wind attack, but he's going to inherently do less damage because he's not physical. And then, Wind 1.0 is physical, but you have, Hakuro and Butler Veldora as your DPS units? Bitch, please. I've tried that. It doesn't work very well. So, I have reason to believe that the third and final unit will be our DPS, and will also be a wind unit. But we'll find that out in 3 days or so, give or take. Oh my god, it's the future. So, this is being recorded many days after the first part of this intro was done. And, we were just discussing that his first skill buffs wind. Well, we were all correct, because Hinata has come out, and she is a wind unit. So now Gobta's skill does make sense. It was foreshadowing the release of a Pierce unit and a wind unit, which we got with Albus and Hinata. So it now makes sense. The team is complete. We have support. We have support. We have support. We have Orb Changer, Orb Changer. We have our primary DPS, who was also support and also an Orb Changer. So, there's 4 units right here that are all buffing Hinata. So, the team is now complete, and then the 5th slot you can put Wind Trainee or Raphael or Dark Valentine. I don't know, whoever you want to use. But this is the Gobta video. So, the first skill, we get what it does now. The second skill increases skill points by 50%. Which, in retrospect, this team doesn't really need, except for very, very specific circumstances, because you're already buffing blues by 200, 300, 500% skill points. And I think a full 6 of blues gives you like 293 points. That's a lot, right? So and you should be shooting for full hands of blues unless you have alts taking up space. This skill, I think, is going to find its most value when you're a turn away from the nuke turn and you're down points because you used orb changes that cost 100 points, but you're just a little bit shy of the total amount that you need to actually use all of the super huge cost skills. There's 380 cost skills here. Gobta's is 55. This shit ain't cheap, okay? So sometimes you could be a few points shy, and by using this, you could, increase the amount that whatever blues you happen to get, because you obviously don't want to orb change anymore, because you don't want to use more points. This will help you maybe get over that cap, so you have just barely enough off of 1, 2, 3 blue orbs that came naturally to you. That is how I envision his skill being used, but we'll have to, see that in practice. Valor trait lowers orange gauge by 10% from orange orbs. It's pretty useless. I don't think this Gobta is really going to be that helpful in Valor Cup. His trait, when you have 50% or lower HP, you increase your own defense by 9%. I don't really think he'll be on the front line. He's not an orb changer. He is a, nuke turn buffer, so he's going to live mostly in the back. So, this trait doesn't really matter too much to you. And then lowering guard power is cool when you're trying to do damage with the normal orbs. So, it's pretty negligible. You're looking to do 1,000,000 damage with Hinata, which we know that she can do quite easily. So, the guard power doesn't affect ults. Oh well. But then he is a team buffer based on physical slot units. So, there we go. Now that we have the full team, now we can do a showcase for him correctly. The first clip I'm going to have is recorded previously when we didn't have Hinata, so he's on the Win 2.0 team. And then after that, we'll switch to the current, as of today's, kind of team build that I would put him on. Alright, so this is the first team we're going to use. It's the Win 2.0 team minus Dino. We've got Geld, orb changing. We've got Gobta for his blue buff, which, Gabiru doesn't raise the cap, but blues on this team don't give a lot of skill points because it's not like a stacking team. So maybe Gobta's skill can help us, and also his 30% wind attack buff is expensive, but it's also double the amount that Trainee normally gives. Trainee gives 15% to the person with the highest attack, so we are going to get a bit more out of this buff than what we would normally get. Normally this spot would be the hero, who technically Diablo can already crit. It's just hero lowering the crit resistance. So it's like we're trading one debuff for one buff, and we'll see if it really averages out. Milim is obviously here for alt support, and then Diablo is the nuker. So this is EX3 Tempered Edge. We'll see how it goes. Alright, this is the best hand we're going to start with, because the old Tempered Edges don't start with set hands, so you kind of just got to do what you want. You can reset if you really feel like it, but otherwise you just have to play with the cards you're dealt. So we're going to swap Geld out for Diablo right here. We're going to leave Diablo, or not Diablo, but Gobta up front, but you got to remember that he is a water unit, not a wind unit. And we're going type neutral against Diablo and Geld on EX3, which is, one of the more difficult old EX Tempered Edges. So we're not going to do the most damage to him, and we're also going to take a lot more damage. So let's see what he does here. He does 1,700, and then, even Trainee is doubling his damage. So definitely not a DPS unit. Alright, cheeky counter. I already used Trainee's Orb Change last time, so I can't really do much about that. Let's get you out of here for Geld. I think, actually, let's get Gobta out of here for Geld. Let's use his orange change right here, and then we can use Gabiru to change that green. Give me some magic buff, and then we should have enough points to send all the blues to Diablo. There we go. So that'll be good. 56 points right there. Full hand, 8,000 damage. We don't have his attack buff because, this team just doesn't have a lot of points, naturally. and almost an entire hand of greens, which technically we can change that because we're going to have almost, yeah, 2 Gobtas. So that works out pretty well. Let's go ahead and put the attack buff on. And then we can change these greens to blues again, and then we can send them all to Diablo again, because we'll have enough points for that. So let's do that. We'll give Diablo the magic buff from Gabiru. Alright, and then we'll send them all his way. And then we'll bring in Gobta next turn. That way, because I think we're going to get another ult for him. Yeah, we'll get another ult. So the next turn, 44 points, plus 11, plus another Gabiru. We'll have enough points to use Gobta's wind buff attack. So let's see how much damage we do here. 40k. Alright, that's with his attack buff, but no crit. And then 10k per orb. And then 19.3 on the 200%. Okay, so that's decent damage right there. But now we're going to try and buff this team up a little bit more. So we can again change these greens to blues. We have exactly 55 points. Let's go ahead and use this. It does buff our Pierce power, but unfortunately no one on this team is doing Pierce. No one is giving Pierce, naturally or to the team. So that card is kind of wasted. We're here for the 30% wind attack buff, alongside the, what is it, the 30%? 25% magic buff. So I think we'll have enough points here to also do his crit, if I'm not I am mistaken. Okay, unfortunate. Okay, so let's do this now, and we'll see how much damage we do on the ult. We did 40k last time without the wind buff, so now we should go up to like 60k. 51. Okay, a lot less than I thought we were going to do. But we have killed Diablo, so that's the main priority, is killing Diablo. Geld does hit hard on his AoE, but we can just swap, these 2 people out, and then we don't have to really take that very much. We can also burn out these oranges. So let's let Gobta get a hit in. 351 damage, great. Ooh, perfect. Perfect. So actually, let's do the blue buff now. Get 50% extra points on these blues, which we're going to have an entire hand of blues now. And we'll bring you in for Geld, since you have 4 orbs. And yeah, I think we'll run it like this. We still don't have enough points to do anything right now, but all these blues will get us to 100 points, I assume. Assume being the key word. Yes, it does. It doesn't give us an ult though, which is really unfortunate. But we can bring Trainee in next turn to push an ult for Diablo, give him that 2-turn 15% wind buff, but also the 35% ult gauge. And, okay, we have a Trainee orb change as well. So we'll have enough points for both of those. So let's get Gobta out of here. And then let's go ahead and push an orb change. Oh, it went to Milim because she has the higher attack stat. Unfortunate, because we ran out of Diablo's attack buff. I wonder, did I have the attack buff on for the second nuke? I thought I did. Alright, well, that's unfortunate. So if I do, I'll get you out of here. This will go to Diablo now. Yeah, there we go. And then we don't have enough to send away. So let's use the crit and the defense down for funsies. He still has the wind buff, he has the magic buff, he has crit, defense down, so he'll do decent damage here as well. We still have the Gobta buff going because that's a 3-turn buff. 9,000 damage, okay. So it'll last a while, we just have to, this team has to use quite a bit of skills, and so you might not have the time to use such a thing. But we can do so now, so let's get the attack buff on. And then we'll use Gabiru. That'll give us the magic buff. And then we can bring Milim back in. And we can either use her ult buff now, or we could use Gobta and use his wind buff again. But it kind of seems redundant because we already have it from Trainee. So we're just going to go ahead and use the ult buff. And if that's 15 more points. I don't think I have enough points to do anything else. That'd be 37. So we don't have enough to use the crit. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and send this as it is. Get these oranges out just in case he survives. 60k right there. And a counter. But we should kill him with Diablo. Okay. So, I mean, he does work. 55 points is a lot to ask for on this team, especially when you're really wanting to run small buffs because you don't have a lot of points to use. Gobta's blue buff does help this team out, though. It's 3 turns of 50% extra points, which will then help you get to the amount of points that you would need to use multiple buffs. Thankfully, Diablo's buffs last for multiple turns. Trainee's wind buff lasts for 2. His wind buff only lasts for 1, though. So you kind of gotta strategize. Okay, so that's him on the wind team. Let's try something else now. All right, back to the future again, because this is the new Inferno beatdown battle team that I've been running with hilarious amounts of success, because it used to be a very difficult stage, and now it's a joke. So Gobta obviously is going to give us the double buffs on Hinata alongside, Albus and Rimuru, plus Hinata's own buffs. Trainee is here for, our 4th orb changer on this team, which makes this team run absolutely beautiful, while also being able to rush Hinata's ult because of the small wind attack buff that she also gives, which can help out on the turns where we're not nuking, right? Because we use that to, increase Hinata's gauge by 35%, and also it just allows us to hit a little bit harder on our normals against his guard because it's a 15% wind buff. But then, when the nuke turn actually comes, Gobta is going to be providing 30% wind attack, 15% pierce power on one card, which, are relatively low amounts, but when you combine them together alongside all the other shit this team has, then it becomes pretty good. So I think just for this run, instead of using all 4 of the buffs, I think we're only going to use Albus and Gobta, and that's it. So because I want to see the Pierce with the Pierce power, and then the wind attack on Hinata. I'm not going to use Hinata's buff, I'm not going to use Rimuru's buff, because I want to see how much damage Gobta actually gives to a almost baseline Hinata, right? We are still going to have the 50% Pierce resistance down, of course. But I do want to see just the power of Gobta himself, but I do need the Pierce from Albus to activate the Pierce power. So that's what we're going to do. This is Inferno 2, not 1 and not 3. I have a hilarious video scheduled for Inferno 3 that I've recorded but haven't yet started editing because I don't know how to edit it. I do, but I also don't, because it's just a joke at this point, alright? So Gobta's up front. He's not really going to get much use because right now we don't have a lot of points to start with. It's not really his goal to use anything right now. His skills are more tailored toward end of battle things. So let's go ahead and use Trainee's orb change here, and then we'll bring in Hinata for Gobta, and we'll just kind of run it as we will. And then when we get to whatever turn I want to nuke, whether it be turn 6 or turn 8 when he loses all his defense, we'll compare how much damage we do with a baseline Hinata, and then with the additional buffs from the other 2 units. So it'll be a double clip section of this. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. There's actually not much we can do about that. Only having 1 blue, so I guess we're just going to send greens this turn after using Diablo, who this is the first time using him today because I've been preoccupied with other things today. Thankfully didn't have to go to the office, but I still have other things to do around here. I got my motorcycle back from my friend's garage, so today is a nice day. So after work I will go out riding for the first time I had to ride at home, but for the first leisurely time in 6 months, somewhere around there, 5 months. All right, so here, let's go ahead and use, technically, yeah, we can get Trainee out of here. So we could do this, Yeah, and then we'd have enough points to use Rimuru's orb change as well, while also giving us that ult gauge right there. So that's gonna help us do more wind attack now. But it's not really that important to use on the nuke, because 15% obviously is not as good as 30%. So pop, 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 pop. This gets us her ult. She's gonna have her attack skill sealed next turn. So, will we live to turn 8? I think we will. So we'll nuke on turn 8 when all of his defense is gone. And then, yeah, we'll do it Hinata by herself. And then, with the buffs later. So let's do this. We have to keep her on one more turn so we can lose the attack buff, or attack debuff. Let's go ahead and send these useless greens that are all nerfed. 14, 14. That's a lot of Rimuru orbs right there. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do this. Let's take you out. Let's bring Gobta in, I guess, for whatever reason. Let's see. We could do more orb changing here. We could do that. And that. And we gotta use Rimuru's anyway. So, I mean, we have the points for it, so. Okay. So, let's bring Gobta in. Whole hand of blues now. Will this get us max points? It does. Alright, so there's no point in using Gobta, right? But Gobta's blue buff, because we're capping out. Which is why I think his skill is kind of redundant, right? Yeah, it's used on those turns that I explained where you're just shy and you only have a few orbs to use. But at the same time, it's like, these are EX characters, and we ideally... Oh, Albus might die. We ideally want their EX ults. So I think, had they redone Gobta's skill into a... maybe not 50%, but like 20, 15%, somewhere around there, additional secret skill gauge on blues, I think that actually would have helped this team a lot more, because we're already getting how much? Well, actually, I don't have any fucking blues, so I can't actually decide that. Let's do that. Let's do that. We'll bring Trainee in for you, so you don't die. We'll use her orb change, and then so yeah, we're at 400%, right? We don't need more skill points. We're capping still, right? And we're not even maxed out on like the whole 500%. Like, it doesn't really make too much sense in my mind to do 50% secret or skill point gain when we're already doing 400. So I think giving us any significant amount of alt gauge instead on the blues for his buff would have been much more appropriate and much more helpful for this team for at least big mommy damage numbers, I guess. Sorry. Alright, so turn 6, we gotta live 2 more turns, which I think we will do. Go ahead and use Diablo one last time, because his defense will leave, and we can... I almost certainly think we can live. Unless he really hates somebody. Yeah, if he hated Rimuru, he could have killed, but that's okay. Alright, so let's check out our baseline damage here with Hinata. Without his defense, he just has... how much resistance down? 90%, so we'll make sure that's the same on the next run. But by herself, she's going to do 90k. Okay. Alright. Fair. Right, so let's come back now without a dead Trainee, and let's add in the Gobta buff and the Albus buff, and we'll see how much more that 90k goes up by. Alright, so we're back on turn 8. Rimuru, again, has 90% ult resistance down. We don't have... oh, we do have the Wind Charm, actually. That's unfortunate. So we're going to do a little bit more damage here, because that's another 10% wind attack that we didn't have on the last section of the video. So, you know, subtract 10%, I guess, and call it good. But we're going to use the Pierce. We're going to use the wind attack from Gobta and the Pierce power, and then we'll see how much more we do in comparison, alongside, you know, the resistance down, which is hefty when you also have Pierce power going on. So let's go ahead and send this Will we actually kill here? I don't actually think we will, but it might be close. So we did 90k, and now we do 232,000 damage. So significant. And yes, that's because the pierce resistance down at 50% is significant. But, you know, that was essentially 40% wind attack, 15% pierce power, and that's all. Like, that wasn't like mind-blowingly, you know, big-time buffs right there, except for Albus. So, I mean, we could come back here and we could do like let's bring Water Alice instead, who just gives Pierce, and that's it, and then compare the damage. But it won't do 232, it'll probably do like 200, maybe 180k, which is still double what we did, you know, with just the baseline ult. I mean, I can really do that if you guys want, but I don't really think it's necessary, because ideally you'd want to run them with Albus and Rimuru and Hinata, and ideally you would want to use all of those buffs, and you would have done like 1,000,000 damage to Rimuru right here. So I don't think we need to go any further than that on this specific test. But Gobta, you know, can provide a hefty level of buff to Hinata just by himself. Again, I do have issues with his blue orb skill, because again, this team doesn't need skill points. But it's nitpicky, right? He's not going to be like the most amazing unit for Valor Cup. Whoop-de-doo. Most free-to-play units are not. There are exceptions. And I don't really know where else he would shine, because he's very obviously not a damage unit. He's here to support, and he's here to go back on the back line like a good boy. So I don't really know where else to use Gobta. Like, we used him on the Wind 2.0 team, that was blue focused, and he's a little bit too expensive for that. He can make it work though. I mean, I could put him with like Wind 1.0, but they're green focused, so his second skill would not give two shits unless you naturally just get a blue hand. I mean, and then the Wind 1.0 team doesn't have someone to give Pierce, you know, normally. You could bring Water Alice, you could bring Dark Xion, but Dark Xion's giving you 20% Pierce power. He's only giving 15. So you would get Wind Attack, and you would get a little bit of Pierce power if you were to bring Water Alice or Light Raphael or another unit that gave you Pierce, certainly. But I don't really think that requires it, because Wind 1.0 is pretty ass, so sorry. So I think that will end it. You know, 2 segments. You know, you're just buffing up the damage that Hinata does at the end of the day to make her do incredible amounts, or to assist in helping her do incredible amounts of damage. So Gobta, fairly decent support unit, not really overly useful for much else, but he is, again, a free-to-play unit. A free-to-play natural 5-star unit, which we don't get too many of those. So he definitely has better stats, and he will live a little bit longer than the free-to-play units. But let me know what you guys think of Gobta. Short showcase. We don't really have too much to do with him. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you later.